Swaha's Indian Arrival Day celebrations held today at the Mahatma Gandhi Institute's auditorium in Mount Hope. At this point in time, I would kindly request everyone to please stand as we join in the national anthem.
Please remain standing for the opening prayer as we are led by Pandit Ishaara Maharaj, President of Swaha.
Sit down, we all bow our heads, we join our hands together as we pray collectively for blessings. We give thanks that we're able to reach here safely. And as we begin in our minds, Om
Ganganapati Namaha, Om Shri Saraswati Namaha, Om Shri Sita Ramachandrai Namaha, Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Buddhi Rupena Sangsita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha Om Aparam Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Sri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham Om Shri Sita Ramachandraya Namaha Bole Shri Gajanan Swami ki Siyapati Ramachandra ki Swaha Mata ki Satya Sanatan Dharma ki. We remain standing for the Swaha Geet.
Om Jai Swaha Mata Maya Jai Swaha Mata Tum Agni ki Shakti Tum Agni ki Shakti Tum Sachi Mata Om Jai Swaha Mata सनातनी देवी शुभ फल की दाता मैया शुभ फल की दाता भक्तन की दुख हरता भक्तन की दुख हरता सुख संपत्ति करता मैया जय स्वाहा माता.
Kindly take your seats. At this point in time, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce you to our MCs that will take us through today's program. Mr. Ronald Chakri is an attorney at law and is the governance officer for the Trinidad and Tobago International Financial Center. And our other MC is Mrs. Sarvani Persad, who is also an attorney at law and the recipient of an additional language scholarship. So at this point in time, we'd like to give a warm welcome to our two wonderful MCs, Ronald and Sarvani.
Guruji Pandit Balram Prasad, Gurumai Mrs. Nalini Prasad, Pandit Professor Prakash Prasad and Mrs. Mala Prasad, Chairman of Swaha's Mandal and President of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, distinguished Pandits of the Dharma Mandal of Swaha, Pandit Manideo Prasad, Mrs. Rohini Prasad, Pandit Kavish Prasad, Pandit Umadat Maharaj, Pandit Chandradat Maharaj and families, Pandit and Mrs. Adish Maharaj, Director of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Cultural Cooperation, Dr. Ramya Ajay, Seva TT representatives, Mr. Rivanti Laksing, Dr. Vishi Bihari and other executive members, national and branch executives of Swaha, specially invited guests, members of the media, all our awardees and their respective families, and the viewing audience on ITV, Sitaram. May I extend to you a very warm welcome to Swaha's annual Indian Arrival Day celebrations on this, the 179th anniversary of Indian arrival to Trinidad and Tobago. This event of Swaha has grown to an annual celebration to remember the great sacrifices of our ancestors made to keep our culture, religion, and traditions alive. This year in particular, we are pleased to highlight the opening of the Sri Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, a historic moment and one which we recognize and celebrated throughout our Swadeshi Ramayan singing competition held at the Swaha Sukh Shanti Bhakti Mandali on May 19th, 2024, just a few weeks ago. At this point in time, I would like to invite Pandit Ishwar Madhu Maharaj to the podium. Pandit Ishwar is the president of Swaha. He is the secretary of the Dharma Mandal of Swaha and the school supervisor for the Karani Education District. Pandit Ishwar Madhu Maharaj.
Thank you, Ronald. The Deputy Spiritual Head of Swaha, Pandit Balram Prasad and his Dharmpatni, Pandit Professor Prakash Prasad, Chairman of the Mandal, his Dharmpatni, Pandit Maideo Prasad and his Dharmpatni, Pandit Umadat Maharaj and his Dharmpatni and their families also, all these Pandits I have called. Other distinguished Pandits of Swaha who are here, Pandit Adesh, Pandit Tarun, Pandit Keshav, Pandit Agni, other Pandits who may be here and I didn't recognize you, forgive me. I know we have a few other Pandits who are on their way. To our national executive, branch executives, I recognize Pandit Chandradat also, all our distinguished awardees that we are honoring today, and our specially invited guests. Shubh Swagatam, Sitaram, and welcome to all of you. This is a special occasion for us. It is, of course, Indian arrival. It's something that we eagerly anticipate as members of Swaha and all of you in the national community, because for us, it is a celebration of a lot that we have to be proud of. Our ancestors who came 179 years ago, and they came to a land of promise and hope. Some were forced to come, tricked to come. Some were encouraged, coerced, whatever term we may use. But they came hoping to make a life for themselves that is, of course, better than they had. And I could say that we have done that. in 179 years, and we are proud to celebrate that here as members of Swaha and as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. In a short while, we welcome our opposition leader, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar. She's on her way, we were told. Our granddaughter, or great-granddaughter of indentures. We have Pandit Professor Prakash, who we recognize, many of you don't know, is the first Hindu president of a university in the Western Hemisphere. I think he deserves a round of applause for that. And these are just some of the reasons for celebrating today and why we are happy. But I started by saying, you know, they left for betterment. Our team is Ram Ayenge. I recognize also our esteemed judges, Shrirana Mohibji, and the other, you know, members of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute and their trained tutors, who will be here in a short while. Ram Ayenge, Sri Ram, when he returned, it was the dawn of a civilization where there was peace, love, harmony, mutual respect, justice, fair play. His Maryada Purushottam. This characterized his reign. I want you to think, in Trinidad and Tobago, do you feel safe? Do you feel happy? Do you feel that today we are thankful to our ancestors? Do you think our children, grandchildren, will be proud of the legacy we have left for them? And if you say yes, well then you're happy. I'm happy. But I feel there's a lot more that we still have to do. And this is why I also want to welcome all the various stakeholders who are here, wonderful individuals who you'll see being recognized today, other organizations who are here. Because working together, helping to build the Hindu community means working together to build a national community. And this is what makes today special. So it's not only Swaha representatives we have here. We have from almost every major organization someone represented here. And for that, we are grateful. I warmly welcome you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of this evening's program. Sitaram.
Thank you so much, Pandit Ishwar Madhu Maharaj, for your warm words of welcome. Today, our program will pay tribute to the past generations who have contributed significantly to the development of Swaha, those noble individuals whose invaluable contributions have created the strong foundation upon which we stand today. We will feature and highlight the present generation, who continue to inspire and build on the incredible legacy left by our forefathers. The individuals who proudly celebrate the rich cultural heritage that our ancestors brought with them 179 long years ago. Today, we will be treated by presentations of the musical and cultural legacies of the past, while embracing with open arms the celebrated and iconic individuals of our own country, each of whom is a trailblazer in their own right. Without further ado, I wish to welcome the first of such individuals to the stage. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Mrs. Reshma Rajiv. Mrs. Rajiv is currently the Bharatnatyam dance instructor at Magic. She is a graduate in mass communication and journalism and diploma and postgraduate in Bharatnatyam from the University of Madras. She was notably awarded the Natwar Gopi Krishna National Award from All Dances Association and is the founder and director of the Anantara Space of Arts and has undoubtedly curated a space to share her knowledge and passion for this poetic dance form to educate and inspire her students. Let us give a lusty round of applause to welcome Mrs. Rajiv to the stage, where she will introduce and explain the meaning and significance of the dance that she will perform for us today.
Namaste. Thank you. So today I'll be presenting Tulsidas Bhajan, which is Sri Ramachandra Kripala Bhajamana. I think some of you might be familiar with the bhajan. In this particular bhajan, I'll be depicting 3 short stories of Lord Rama, which is Ahalya Moksha, wife of Gautama, Ahalya got that, salvation from Lord Rama. Later, it will be Sri Rama Vanagamana, which means Rama leaving to the forest for 14 years. And later, Ravana Vadha. So, hope you will enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Mrs. Reshma Rajiv of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Cultural Cooperation. I would now like to invite our very illustrious chairman of the Dharma Mandal of Swaha, but let me tell you a bit about him, a most distinguished individual. But before I do so, we pause for just a minute for the arrival of the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, the Leader of the Opposition. So in just a bit, I would ask you to please all stand as we welcome her to the auditorium. Ladies and gentlemen, please all stand. Thank you. And may we heartily welcome the Leader of the Opposition to the auditorium. Sitaram to Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, the Leader of the Opposition, and welcome. May we please have our seats? Thank you. Thank you very much. As we move straight ahead with our program this evening, it is my honor to introduce you to our next speaker. He is none other than Professor Prakash Prasad. Professor Prasad is a former head of the Department of Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering at the University of the West Indies and is currently the president of the University of Trinidad and Tobago. Professor Prasad was the winner of the inaugural UTT Research Award and the Prime Minister's Award for Invention and Innovation, in addition to being awarded for his contributions to education and culture by the NRI Institute, New Delhi, India, and the Global TM Movement, and most recently, the Naipaul Award Committee. Professor Prakash Prasad has served as Senate Minority Leader of the Parliament of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Chairman of the Board of Governors of the National Institute of Higher Learning, Research, Science and Technology, a Commissioner of the Port Authority, and a member of the Cabinet-appointed Committee on the Evaluation of Textbooks. Pandit Professor Prakash Prasad has consulted and done numerous training courses for industry and business in the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Barbados, Antigua, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Guyana, Suriname, right here at home in Trinidad and Tobago, and is a licensed Hindu marriage officer. Pandit Professor Prakash Prasad is also the spiritual leader of the Swaha Divya Ashram and the director of Swaha Incorporated, and holds a first-degree black belt from the Japan Karate Association. May we now all welcome our very dear Pandit Professor Prakash Prasad to deliver remarks this evening.
Sitaram, and let me stand on the already established protocols. Let me begin by extending a warm welcome to you all on behalf of the spiritual leader of Swaha Incorporated, Pandit Hari Prasad, and members of the board. A special welcome is extended to the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Mrs. Kamla Prasad, Senior Counsel, and also to the High Commissioner of India, who will be here shortly. Also to the awardees and you distinguished audience here. Indeed, it's a pleasure having you here and speaking to you. This year will mark the 179th anniversary of the arrivals of East Indians as indentured laborers to these shores. In fact, I'm surprised when you looked at the definition of indentured laborer, didn't qualify for that. Historians said they were actually bonded laborers, not indentured laborers. It was a historic and watershed event, for they went on to play a critical role in resuscitating the economic fortunes of the Twin Island state that is Trinidad and Tobago. Now, May is quite a significant month. The 30th of May today is a national holiday, Indian Arrival Day. The 25th is the birth anniversary of Mr. Basdev Pandey, the country's first Prime Minister of East Indian descent. And the 24th is the anniversary of Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar becoming the first female Prime Minister of this country of Trinidad and Tobago. I think let's give her a hearty round of applause. From the quite dark days of indentureship to the present, much progress has been made by the community, albeit in an initially very adverse and many a time quite hostile environment. In spite of this, great strides have been made, including in the fields of education, academia, culture, sport, law, economics, individual businesses, and politics. These achievements are most worthy and must be recognized and lauded. But the journey is far from over. To successfully build upon the gains made so far requires a different mindset, a different strategy, and a new innovative paradigm. So you may ask, what might these be? Firstly, the recognition that the whole is greater than the sum of the individual parts. Or to put it more plainly, working together as a community redounds to the benefit of all. Or to put it bluntly, self-serving individualism must be put to rest. Now, this is easier said than done. But we should recall that the core element of our cultural inheritance, what is it? The principle of unity in diversity, of brotherhood, or Jahaji Bhai, to use a more recent term. The walls of the proverbial and much maligned barrel, and you all know what I'm talking about, that was initially imposed on the community by indentureship, has in the main been removed. So, let us not still let it exist in our minds, in our psyche, thus preventing us from working together, if not in unity, at least in harmony. There is a growing ethos of intergroup communication with the occasional united front on some issues. It is imperative that this approach must now be put on an institutional and sustained footing. If done, it will allow for a more effective lobby to address issues that affect the community. The united lobby presented in the matter of open-air cremation during the COVID is an example. Think of how much pain, agony, suffering of the bereaved families could have been avoided, not to mention the reduction of the exorbitant costs they had to pay if such a lobby was in place and we insisted up front that open-air cremation is our right. Nothing to negotiate or beg about, it's our right. In fact, we pointed out that it has been done in India right through. But here, I guess when you don't have a powerful lobby, you pay the price. And the community did literally pay the price in pain and money. Now, surely, again, such a lobby must be, and we say is overdue for the effective addressing and resolution of the absolutely unacceptable barbaric acts of vandalization and desecration of Hindu temples. Whilst other places of worship have also been vandalized, Hindus have suffered the most in this regard, as evidenced by statistics, data, and noted by the Catholic priest, Father Martin Serju, in his column in the Sunday Express of the 26th of May, last Sunday. This official apathy to Hindu antipathy must stop. And just in case People have some doubt what antipathy is. It is nobody's anti, you know. It's equivalent to almost Hindu phobia. It's hostility towards Hindus. And that is not acceptable. We should not accept that. In addition to intergroup harmony, there is a present and urgent necessary need for the community to deepen its engagement at the local and national levels to address the issues of crime, national development, governance, social justice, transparency, and equity. We must not allow ourselves to be told that our activities should be restricted only within the boundaries of culture. Yes, we continue to grow there, but it goes beyond that. And as Pandit Ishwar Madhav Maharaj pointed out, President of Swaha, that Prabhu Shri Ram, Lord Ram, he talked about social justice. He practiced social justice. He practiced transparency and equity. That is part of religion. That is part of our culture. And therefore, we must put it in practice. So, as citizens and committed patriots, and that we are, I want to repeat that we are citizens and we are committed patriots. Let nobody tell us otherwise or take them on if they say so. We must also do our part in proposing solutions to the present national problems. We are all in the same boat named Trinidad and Tobago. If it were to sink, we'll all drown. The arrivals, the emancipated, and everybody else. We must be aware of that. Within the community and diaspora, there's an abundance of talent to be mobilized to consider and to propose solutions to new and emerging threats posed by artificial intelligence and climate change. All citizens will face the negative impacts of these emerging threats, and in fact, climate change is here already. And we have been subjected to these heat waves, and it's going to get worse. Actually, as a researcher in 1976 to 1978, I took readings of the temperature of Trinidad as part of my work, research work. Then, a hot day, for a few years for the year, the maximum was 32 degrees. Now almost every day is 35 degrees. 3 degrees Celsius difference makes a huge, huge difference. It can be a matter of health or not health. So since all of us will face these negative impacts, then we must, engage in producing solutions. I want to propose that the many places of worship that we have in this country, that it be used for discussions and for meetings and for soliciting feedback from the communities around. This sort of approach must be, taken forward. Policy should be driven from the ground up, not top down. Now, some will say, hey, why do you want to use places of worship for these sort of activities? Is it not true that service to mankind is service to God, is worship? So how could it not be, and how could anybody complain about that? So we continue doing what we're doing, but we need to expand these facilities and reach out to the communities. This can best be achieved if the community initiates mechanisms like think tanks and action groups to bring solutions and take it forward and articulate it nationally and globally. I must point out that Swaha Incorporated has been actively involved and at the forefront in these initial efforts. I will continue to do so until we succeed. Now, I am fully aware there will be those who will view the above nation-building suggestions as being communal. I will say to you, those are the unpatriotic anti-nationals, not us, they are. For the stronger the individual communities that make up our plural society, our ethnic rainbow, our cultural mosaic, the stronger the nation. So in closing, let me wish everyone here, and indeed the national community, happy Indian Arrival Day. And to Trinbagonian citizens of East Indian descent, I say to you, this is your country, this is our country. That our culture, your culture, is also national culture. So be proud of your heritage. Proudly proclaim your culture and move forward with discipline, production, and tolerance to organize for the benefit of the community and country. May God bless all. Sitaram.
Thank you, Pandit Professor Prasad, for your wonderful remarks. Our next performance is a local song by Dr. Kamla Dhyani. She has her Master of Arts and Master of Philosophy from Delhi University and holds her PhD from the Maharishi Dayanand University. She has been the recipient of scholarships from the Ministry of Education and the Sahitya Kala Parishad. She has extensive experience teaching and performing in South Africa, and we here in Trinidad are most fortunate to have her as the Hindustani vocal teacher at Magic to carry out the noble work of an educator and pass on her knowledge to her students, both young and old. I am certain that we are in for a treat, so please put your hands together and welcome to the stage Dr. Kamla Dhyani, accompanied by the very talented, very accomplished Rana Mohib and group, who are certainly no strangers to this audience here this evening. Please put your hands together and welcome them to the stage.
Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Today I will be performing first very famous bhajan you all know, Ram Aayenge Aayenge, Ram Aayenge, followed with one very famous traditional folk you can say, Muri Ram Avadh Ghar Aaye.
Ramayan. खुल जाएंगे, राम आएंगे।
मेरी झोपड़ी के भाग आज खुल जाएंगे, राम आएंगे।
मेरी झोपड़ी के भाग आज खुल जाएंगे, राम आएंगे।
मेरी झोपड़ी के भाग आज खुल जाएंगे, राम आएंगे।
मेरी झोपड़ी के भाग आज खुल जाएंगे, राम आएंगे।
राम आएंगे, राम आएंगे, राम आएंगे।
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Dhyani, and members of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute, Rana ji. Thank you so much. And we have a second item as well. Yes? Thank you.
मोरे राम अवध घर आए, मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
मोरे राम अवध घर आए, मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
मोरे राम अवध घर आए, मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
मोरे राम अवध घर आए, मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
हो मोरे राम अवध घर आए,
मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
हो मोरे राम अवध घर आए। आए रे मोरे राम अवध घर आए, मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
मोरे राम अवध घर आए, मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
आगे आगे राम चली पाछे चली सेना।
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 पाछे चली सेना जी, पाछे चली सेना।
पाछे चली सेना जी, पाछे चली सेना।
हनुमान उड़ी आए, मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
हनुमान उड़ी आए, मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
हो मोरे राम अवध घर आए। आए रे मोरे राम अवध घर आए, मोरे राम अवध घर आए।
Thank you again very much, Dr. Dhyani, members of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute, Rana Mohib, and members of the group. Thank you so much. This is a perfect addition as we remember our ancestors and the rich traditions that came with them from India. At this point in time, I seek the assistance of our very dear Pandit Chandradat Maharaj and members of the Secretariat who will assist with the presentation of awards to temples of Swaha that placed in the Ramayan singing competition which was recently held. Thank you, Panditji, for joining with us. And we call upon the third place winner, the Swaha Hindu College, who placed third to collect their award. Swaha, members of the Swaha Hindu College, please come forward. Panditji will present you with the award. Thank you very much. While members of the Hindu College make their way off, we now welcome the second place winner, the Swaha Om Shakti Mandali. Thank you very much, Swaha Hindu College. We now call upon the Swaha Om Shakti Mandali. And we have Chandika Ganesh, who will accept on behalf of Om Shakti Mandali. Thank you very much, Chandika. And our first place winner in the Ramayan singing competition from Arangwes, yes, the Swaha Bhakti Jyot Mandali. And we want to warmly welcome them all as they are here, firstly to make their presentation, to take their award presentation, and then we will invite them to perform for you. Many, many congratulations to the Swaha Bhakti Jyot Mandali. And thank you very much, Panditji. So now we invite all the members of that group, the Swaha Bhakti Jyot Mandali, to take their respective place on stage as they sing for us their winning compilation verses of Ramayan. So let us welcome them warmly as they make their way on stage. I truly believe that they deserve another lusty round of applause. Thank you very, very much, the Bhakti Jyot Mandali of Arangwes, led by Pandit Umadat Maharaj. As they make their way off stage, I'm very, very pleased to present to you, introduce you to our next speaker. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, was born on the 22nd of April 1952. As a little girl, she was always interested in reading novels and was intrigued by the developing technologies of the time. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar graduated from the Eyrie High School and went on to further her studies at the University of the West Indies, Norwood Technical College in the United Kingdom, and the Hugh Wooding Law School. Consequently, she was awarded a Bachelor of Arts with Honours and a Diploma in Education, a Bachelor of Arts in Laws with Honours, and a Legal Education Certificate. In 2006, she obtained an Executive Master's in Business Administration, EMBA, from our neighbour institution, the Arthur Lockjack Graduate School of Business, right here, next door to us in Trinidad here. On completion of her studies, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar entered the teaching profession. Her career history can be described very much as people-centered and one that has focused her energy within the public's eye. While in the United Kingdom pursuing studies, she worked as a social worker with the Church of England's Children's Society of London. She taught at the St. Andrew High School in Kingston, Jamaica, and at the Mona campus in Jamaica. Later, she taught at the St. Augustine campus of the University of the West Indies in Trinidad. At the Jamaica College of Insurance, she was also a consultant lecturer. Her next step was to lecture at a tertiary education institution. Thereafter, lecturing for a total of 6 years, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar then became a full-time attorney at law. In 1987, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar entered the political arena. From 1987 until 1991, she served as an alderman for the St. Patrick Community Council. Representing the United National Congress in opposition, she took the oath of allegiance at a sitting of the Senate on November 1st, 1994. Since 1995, she has been the Member of Parliament for Siparia, serving as Attorney General, Minister of Legal Affairs, and Minister of Education, all within the period 1995 to 2001. The United National Congress returned to the opposition benches in 2002, and on April 26, 2006, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar was appointed leader of the opposition, the first woman to ever hold that position in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. She was then appointed leader of the opposition a second time on February 25, 2010, almost 1 month after she was elected political leader of the United National Congress. On Tuesday, May 26, 2010, 2 days after historic victory at the polls, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar created history yet again by becoming the first woman to hold the office of Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. She would again win the Siparia seat at the 2015 general election, this time serving in opposition. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar is married to Dr. Gregory Bissessar and has 1 son. At this time, Swaha warmly, and the 2 grandchildren, yes. At this time, Swaha warmly welcomes Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, and we ask you to please all stand as she makes her way to address us this evening on this most auspicious occasion.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Sitaram, namaskar. I can't hear you. Sitaram, everyone. Thank you very much. Let me thank Ronald for that long introduction. It reminds me, I've shared this before as a speaker. I was once the Minister of Education of Trinidad and Tobago, as some of you may remember. And I would get a lot of invitations to go to schools to do graduation speeches at graduation time. So I went one day to a graduation exercise, and the teachers decided they would not let an adult person introduce me. They would use one of the young children, 11 plus, just wrote the then common entrance exam. And that young man comes up to the podium and he says, "My job here is very simple. All I have to do is introduce Kamla." He says, this little young man, "So I am not going to make a long, boring speech, but no, I will introduce you to the person who will, Kamla Persad-Bissessar." So this evening, as I share with you, I'm so overjoyed to be with you. I want to thank you for the kind introduction, for the kind invitation, and trust that I will not make a long, boring speech, because I know before dinner, people are waiting for after dinner, or dinner itself. So I want to share a few moments with you on this very important occasion. Director of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute, Dr. Ramya Ajay, Deputy Spiritual Head of Swaha, His Holiness Pandit Balaram Prasad, Chairman of the Board of Swaha, Pandit Professor Prakash Prasad. No, Pandit, your wife is telling me she was teaching in a school, and when she gave her name Prasad, they said, "Oh, that is Kamla Persad-Bissessar's sister." So they say, and she's voting for Kamla. I hope she is. Let's give her a round of applause. Both Pandit and his wife were here with us tonight. President of Swaha, Pandit Ishaara Maharaj, all the distinguished Pandits of Swaha and other organizations, Swaha National Executive members, specially invited guests, distinguished awardees, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen, again I say good evening, namaste to all of you. I'm very pleased to join you here today, this evening, on this Indian Arrival Day holiday. I thank Swaha for the kind invitation. I commend them on the work they have been doing over the past decades in the field of religion, culture, including the annual Indian Arrival Day celebrations. And when I listen to Pandit Prasad tonight, I see he's an activist, he tells me, for social justice and also a patriot. So let's thank him for his years of service over the years. He has served as a UNC senator before, and who knows, in future, all things are possible. Today is a day to remember our ancestors and pay tribute to their great legacies. It is vital for us as individuals and as a people as a whole to remember the past and honor those lessons, even as we embrace the change that will chart the future. Because as I always say, if we do not know where we have come from, we will never know where we are going. It was in this month, May, in 1845, 225 Indians first undertook that fateful journey from India to Trinidad aboard the Fatal Razak. That was the first of a series of journeys that would end in the next century when the SS Ganges made that last trip in 1917. Let me tell you the story of one of the youths of that fateful era of East Indian indentureship, the change that this woman would have embraced and an inspiring legacy to this day. Her name was Sumaria C. Prasad. She came to Trinidad from Madras, India, in the early 1880s. She came only with her Jahaji bundle of meager possessions. She was just 16 years old when she bravely decided to take that long, dangerous boat journey across the Kalapani to come to this strange land in search of a better life. But C. Prasad died when she met and married here a fellow indentureship laborer, and they had 8 children. But her husband died when the children were young. leaving Samaria to raise them on her own. That was not easy. She spoke Bhojpuri in an English-speaking island, and her culture was deemed alien and undesirable. Historical records show that for the majority of poor working-class populations here, Trinidad was a brutal place of widespread neglect and entrenched colonial discrimination and desolation. But Samaria was determined to beat the odds. She lived in a kutia, a tiny mud hut with her children. She worked for many years in the sugarcane lands of what is now known as Bennett Drive, Palm East, San Fernando. She would wake up at 3 a.m. to clean and lipe the grounds of her hut. Then she would drink a cup of goat's milk and set off to work with her children in tow, toiling in hot sun for nearly 10 hours a day. Later, she worked in the cocoa and coffee lands of Princestown, and she would walk approximately 10 miles to and from Palm East. Samaria, like the rest of her fellow Jahajis, survived disease, death, the rigors of working in the cane fields from dusk to dawn. And after their contracts ended, for at least 2 generations of their children thereafter, and in many cases even more, they still had to struggle with all the social ills and marginalization under the oppressive British colonial rule. Yet they overcame. They worked the land, they reared their animals. Through their pioneering sense of entrepreneurship, they evolved into small-time landowners and built small businesses that would eventually expand over generations to a great part of the backbone of our country's economy. And though they could barely speak English, they would later on send their children to school, knowing that their way out of poverty and marginalization would be through education. You have heard me always saying, education is the only passport out of poverty. It is only the only key to a better quality of life. And let me congratulate Swaha for the schools that they have established. I'm very happy I was part of that movement, that we worked together to give you your first secondary school up in Guayco, is it, up in the Grande area. I was very proud of that. And now I'm being told by Pandit that you all want to set up a science center, is that it? On those same grounds. Let's work together. In God, all things are possible. I commit to help and work with you. And so I'm saying, although our people could not, our forefathers could barely speak this English, they didn't know how to read and write. What they did was to ensure that future generations would successfully evolve post-independence in 1962. I am a proud member of the 3rd generation of East Indian immigrants, as many of us here are. The ones who grew up very poor, or that at least we had the chance to go to school. It fell on us, the youngest citizens of a new independent nation, to ensure that we forged our country, as our anthem reminds us, from the love of liberty into a place where every creed and race could find an equal space and place, into a place of progress, development, and diversity that is embraced. And so my generation's youths grew to become some of our country's pioneering professionals. They're the ones who will one day build our nation's advanced education, health, and infrastructure systems, and highly developed business sector. And as we evolve into what was now a multicultural, multi-religious, multi-ethnic nation, we cultivated a deep sense of unity and pride in our country, and a commitment to tolerance and harmony as a diversified people. We were the ones who embodied the words of the great soul, Mahatma Gandhi, when he said, and I quote, "I do not want my house to be walled in on all sides, and my windows to be stuffed. I want the culture of all lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible, but I refuse to be blown off my feet by any of them." Notably, as the indentured laborers experienced the harsh oppressive conditions on their estates, They took refuge in their culture and religions that they had brought from their homeland. On evenings after work, they would gather to sing bhajans, chant the Ramayan, pray with the Quran, beat the dholak. And may I tell you today, I was proud when the performance was on here today and I heard the dholak. I grew up as a child. My mother used to beat that dholak. Unfortunately, I didn't get that skill, but she gave me much more. So they would gather in the evenings, wherever they were. I remember all my mousies sitting with my mother, and they would beat this dholak and they'd be singing kirtan and bhajans and so on. What a wonderful way to grow up. In so doing, they held on to the precious memories of India that they once knew but would never see again. It was a way to feel comfort in this strange new country, so different from all that they had known. And as I look at this room today, and in particular, the names of the awardees, I say the spirits of these Jahajis are beaming with pride to see how their future generations found a sense of deep belonging in this new land. But more than that, we were able to ensure that those beautiful cultural traditions, particularly our religions, clothing, music, dance, cuisine, endured and evolved to become a significant aspect of TNT's unique, globally renowned national identity. I note this year's awardees include those who made outstanding contribution to fields of culture and social work within this. Ms. Rupati Singh, for over 30 years of dedicated service as well. Let's give her a round of applause, please. Ms. Kamla Vivek, for outstanding service to Indian arts and culture. Ramleela, especially her pivotal role in promoting and preserving culture and tradition within Swaha and through the National Ramleela Council of TNT as president for over 20 years. Let's give her a round of applause. Sewa Titi, for outstanding social service and humanitarian work in TNT. They have been instrumental in large-scale national food drives, blood donation drives, clothing and book drives, and they've played a pivotal role in developing a workable model for mass vaccination in Trinidad during the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's give Sewa a round of applause. The late Mr. Amjad Maharaj, posthumously awarded for outstanding contribution as first Vice President of Swaha, who played an instrumental role in the formation of Swaha and the Swaha Divya Ashram. Congratulations to all these distinguished awardees here today and all others. May your great work continue to ensure that Swaha strives for generations to come. Undoubtedly, these awardees and Swaha as a whole have played a great role ensuring that our cultural traditions have endured by adapting to change, be it social or technological. Without doubt, they are paving the way for another generation of Swaha leaders to further evolve as they embrace the rapid winds of change that now gush through our land and throughout the world in this age of access to technology. But even as we encourage our next generation as they continue to evolve, I urge us all never forget the legacies of those first groups of indented laborers and their children. I started telling you about Samaria Prasad, and as I end, let me finish telling you about Samaria so you'll understand why. Her children and grandchildren were considered outcasts in colonial Trinidad. Her granddaughter Rita never had the chance to go to school and could barely read or write. One day, though, Rita stood up against centuries of tradition to ensure her own 16-year-old daughter was able to go to England to further her studies because Rita believed in change, evolution, and education. And that daughter stands before you here today to tell you that while Samaria never got the chance to return to India in her lifetime, the place that she had left poor and penniless, over 1 century later, her great-granddaughter, Kamla, visited India as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago in 2012. And that official state visit to you was truly inspiring, truly great land. To His Excellency, who will be here in a bit, I think, I plan to tell him, High Commissioner of India, I plan to tell him, Dr. Pradeep, I met in India some of the descendants of my great-grandparents. It was then that I truly understood and appreciated the immense heroic strength and courage of our ancestors who came here in search of a better life after leaving behind all that they had known and loved. So today, as I close, I urge you all always to remember that no matter what our background may be, no matter which motherland all our ancestors once called home, we all remain the privileged inheritors of this strange land that they came to and sacrificed their lives to build. Our nation was built out of some of the greatest civilizations in the world and in history, out of Africa, out of India, out of China, out of the Middle East, out of Europe, from so many great civilizations, our nation has been built. But in all of that, we have no Mother Europe, we have no Mother India, we have no Mother Africa or Mother China or Mother anywhere else. We only have our beloved mother, Trinidad and Tobago. There are, however, our great-grandmothers in India, out of Africa, out of Europe, out of China, the Middle East, and elsewhere. And when our foreparents came to this land, they did not bring traveler's checks. They had none in those days. They did not have credit cards. They didn't have gold and they did not have diamonds. But instead, they brought something that was much more valuable. They brought greater wealth that would be permanent for us. They brought wealth that's enriched, that has enriched our generations upon generations. And that was the wealth of their family traditions, of their cultural traditions. They brought their holy books, the Bible, the Quran, the Ramayan, the Gita. They brought the songs, the dances, the food, and philosophies of their birthlands, and that fused into what we now call Trinidad and Tobago. So brothers and sisters, I finally say to you, let us not ever forget those who came before us and the sacrifices they made for us. And remember, we hold this earth, we don't own it. We hold it in trust for those who will come after us. And in the same way that our ancestors labored to build a legacy for us, let us continue to build that legacy for the future generations of Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you. I say Happy Indian Arrival Day. And may I also take the opportunity to say Happy Corpus Christi Day to all. God bless you all, and I thank you very much. Sure. Yes, you can.
May we have another round of applause for the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, the leader of the opposition. At this point in time, Mrs. Sandy Ragbir of Swaha will present a token to Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar for our appreciation for her presence and contribution this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again to the opposition leader, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Moving right along to the next segment of our program, we will be presenting the awards and tokens to the persons who have contributed significantly, not only to the development of Swaha, but to their community and to their country, Trinidad and Tobago. These persons have left an indelible mark in our lives and in the history of Swaha, and today we recognize them and salute them for their stellar contributions in the field of social services, education, and culture. Their families have all joined with us today, and to the families, we would like to thank you for supporting your loved one in their service to their dharma. No man is an island, and the importance of the family unit can never be overstated. We are eternally grateful to these awardees for their hard work and their commitment to the people of Swaha and to their country of Trinidad and Tobago. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who will take us through this segment, Ms. Praveen Rajkumar. Ms. Praveen Rajkumar is a long-standing member of Swaha Gyan Deepa Kirtan Mandali, and she recently graduated from the University of the West Indies with honors in economics and a minor in accounting. Over to Praveen.
Sitaram. To present the first two awards, I would like to invite Pandit Manidev Prasad to the stage. Whenever the words dutifulness, efficiency, perfection, and integrity are mentioned, members of Swaha would certainly agree that the person who epitomizes all those qualities is none other than Miss Rupati Singh. Rupati is not only a member of Swaha's Secretariat and the Gyan Deepa Kirtan Mandali, but holds several other portfolios in Swaha, giving yeoman service to each role. Many years ago, when kudos were given to the humble individual for excellent work, her response was, "I have never ever considered what I do in Swaha as work. Even in my career as a teacher, I never saw my duties and responsibilities as work." This mindset of selfless service, coupled with her unwavering commitment to excellence, as well as her deep dedication to the growth of our organization, undoubtedly makes her an ideal recipient of this year's Indian Arrival Day Awards. Rupati's journey that has culminated in today's award began more than 40 years ago, when her spiritual quest led her to a Ramayan satsang conducted by our Paramacharya of Swaha, Pandit Haridev Prasad. Paramacharya of Swaha, who himself at the time was a young but deeply intense Pandit with a burning desire to uplift and educate the Hindu community. In 1983, she was initiated by Paramacharya Ji, setting the stage for a lifetime engagement with the world of religious and spiritual activities. As a teacher for 33 and a third years, most of which was spent at the Endeavour Hindu School, her life was dedicated not only to the academic education of our next generation, but the general uplift of our children in the underprivileged area of Trinidad and Tobago. Even though totally dedicated to her profession, she was still able to devote a tremendous amount of time and energy to the Gyan Deepa Kirtan Mandali from 1984 onwards. There, she served for many years as education officer, contributing greatly to Ramlila, Swadeshi, the teaching of Hindi, and is greatly involved in all activities of the temple. Presently, she is a member of the GDKM Advisory Committee, and as expected, her input is always sought by executive and other members. While still involved in her teaching career, Rupati's input into Swaha Publications Committee was tremendous, with specific regard to the monthly newsletter, which has been in existence for almost 30 years. In 2003, she was appointed to the position of chairperson of this committee, under whose leadership several Swaha publications have been produced. In 2007, Ms. Rupati retired from her job as acting principal and fully immersed herself in service to Swaha. As a member of Swaha Education Board, she performed exceptional service overseeing Swaha's 4 preschools. From 2009 to 2023, she served as chairperson of Swaha Education Board, where she headed the management of Swaha Hindu College, 4 ECCE centers, and education in Swaha generally, which involved Swaha Quiz, Swadeshi, and a religious education program for secondary schools. She was not only involved in the planning of the RI program, but also performed as an RI teacher at St. George's College. Lastly, as a member of the Swaha Secretariat, she continues to be a part of the organizing committee of all Swaha's activities and is a key part of the decision-making body of Swaha's national executive. As a founding member of Swaha, Ms. Rupati continues to work with devotion, efficiency, humility, and guidance from her guru. She serves as an inspiration and encouragement to all those who are involved in service as she continues on a spiritual journey of love and devotion, which is guided by the watchwords that service to humanity is service to God. Swaha takes immense pleasure in honoring Ms. Rupati Singh at this year's Indian Arrival Day. We now ask Ms. Rupati Singh to come to the stage. Mrs. Ramsubig, as she is respectfully called by everyone who interacts with her, truly embodies the qualities of dedication, professionalism, and duty. She is well known throughout Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, several Caribbean islands, and even India for her social, educational, religious, and cultural endeavors. She was born and raised in Guyana and worked for many years in Guyana's Customs and Excise Department. She moved to Canada for tertiary level studies and successfully completed a BA in English, Drama, and Economics. During this time, she met her future husband, Mr. George Ramsubig. She moved to Trinidad and continued her studies, completing a diploma in education at the UWI School of Education. The passion to continue in the field of education led her to teaching at the secondary school level, where she is taught at San Fernando Government School, Tunapuna Government School, Swaha Educational Institute, to name a few. She is frequently called upon by the Department of Creative and Festival Arts at UWI to give lectures on Ramlila. Anyone who is involved with Ramlila in any capacity will certainly attest to the work that Mrs. Ramsubig has put in over the last few decades, serving in the roles of Vice President and President of the National Ramlila Council of Trinidad and Tobago from 2003 to present. She coordinated all preparations and activities relating to the incorporation of the National Ramlila Council by the Parliament of TNT. Mrs. Ramsubig organized a multitude of Ramlila training workshops over the years in various aspects integral to the portrayal of Ramlila. In addition to portrayals at the locations used by member groups of NRCTT, Inc., Mrs. Ramsubig wrote scripts and directed Ramlila on the Promenade in Port of Spain, Queen's Hall, UTT, Diwali Nagar, and Napa. She presented a paper on Ramlila in Trinidad and Tobago, in Delhi, Lucknow, Patna, and Varanasi in India. She was one of the chief organizers of the first International Ramlila Conference, which was held in Trinidad and Tobago. Mrs. Ramsubig served as president of the St. Augustine South Village Council and was a member of the Hindu Women's Organization. At Swaha's national executive level, she held several posts which she gave committed service to. As a member of Swaha's Sukh Shanti Bhakti Mandali, she also held many posts in the temple's executive, working with members for the promotion of education, religion, and culture. She was the assistant producer of television program Sharing the Joy. Swaha takes immense pleasure in honoring Mrs. Kalwati Ramsubig at this year's Indian Arrival Day celebrations. We now ask Mrs. Ramsubik to make her way on stage.
So, Sitaram everyone, to all the pundits especially, Kamla, Prasad. So I'm another Kamal. Not Kamla, but Kamal, right? My mouth is hot too. And I was the only lady who went to seek the school for Swaha with the pundits. I don't know if you remember that, with Tanku. Tanku was there. Thank you very much. I'm going to be short, but I came from Arya Samaj's family in Guyana. However, I fell in love with Pandit Parmanand. My husband took me to him, and I fell in love with him. I think about my husband a lot. I miss him. And I also miss Pandit Parmanand a lot. I love him dearly. I work very closely with him in all his projects. And I want to say thank you. I've done other things, you know, in Guyana, performance and so on. But there was an extension of what I did here. And it was all because my husband sent me go and help Pandit Parmanand. He was the one who went there first when we moved to St. Augustine. Pandit Parmanand needs help, you go. And so I had an amazing husband, and I stayed there, and I'm still there. But I always compliment all the pundits in Swaha. They have nothing bad about them. I can say that. I go to New York also, and I see many things, and I boast about the pundits in Swaha. They have prestige, they have knowledge, they're educated, and they speak well to people. And nobody is too high or too small. They speak politely, and they listen. And they show respect to everyone. And that is important. And that is why you all are so successful. So I say thank you very much, and thank you very much for this award. And thank you to my children, my son Sunil with his children, my grandchildren, and my daughter Camila Sharda. 2 of them are in Canada, but the rest are here to support me. So thank you, my children and my grandchildren, and all my friends who are here too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Ramsubik. Thank you, Pandit Manidev Prasad. At this point in time, we would like to invite Pandit Professor Prakash Prasad to the stage. Swaha International TT is a dedicated, volunteer-driven, non-profit organization committed to fostering selfless service and community empowerment in Trinidad and Tobago. Their mission is to address deficiencies in emergency response, health and wellness, environmental sustainability, and humanitarian needs through strategic, impactful projects. Key initiatives include health and wellness, humanitarian efforts, and environmental projects. CWTT conducts extensive healthcare screenings in rural areas, providing essential examinations such as eyes, dental, breast, prostate, and pap smears. They also organize blood drives and vaccination campaigns, contributing significantly to the National Blood Bank and mass vaccination efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic, administering over 86,000 shots, and as part of the coordinating team that administered over 250,000 vaccinations. COVID-19 support also included the distribution of 2,000 plus meals for medical personnel, 40,000 homemade masks, and over 400,000 KN95 masks. CWTT is deeply involved in providing meals and essential supplies during disasters. They have a robust Feed the Homeless initiative and regularly organizes large-scale food and clothing drives. Their recent clothing drive amassed 23,000 pounds of clothing to be distributed over 1,200 families, showcasing their commitment to supporting those in need. CWTT leads reforestation efforts through their Hike and Plant initiative, which has successfully planted thousands of trees across Trinidad and Tobago. Additionally, they are pioneering plastic recycling solutions with innovative projects like their plastic shredder and the development of plastics to oil machine. CWTT's efforts are bolstered by fruitful partnerships with local institutions, notably the Swaha Hindu College. Teachers and students from the college have been instrumental in the supporting various activities, including health drives and the fun run in the school compound. Their involvement extends to administrative tasks and soon a dedicated blood drive. This collaboration exemplifies the power of community engagement and the impact of collective efforts. Swaha International TT's impactful work has not gone unnoticed. They have been recognized with several awards, including the Express Organization of the Year 2021. They have received recommendations from the Prime Minister for their efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic, awards for the environmental protection, and recognition from the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States for their support following the La Soufrière volcanic eruption. CWTT's projects are designed to foster interaction and collaboration among volunteers and other organizations. With over 300 active volunteers contributing thousands of hours annually, they ensure that their initiatives are family-friendly and accessible to all. The success of each project is measured by tangible outcomes and the intangible impact of instilling values such as discipline, timeliness, reliability, compassion, innovation, and efficiency. Swaha International TT invites everyone to join in making a difference through dedicated service and community engagement. Together, they aim to continue building a resilient, compassionate, and sustainable Trinidad and Tobago. I would now like to invite Mr. Ramayan Tilak to the stage to receive this award. The late Mr. Ramjatan Maharaj had a successful career in the public service. He was an accounting and taxation expert. Mr. Maharaj joined Swaha during its inception and served with the distinction as the Vice President of the National Executive for many years. He was also the inaugural and long-serving chairman of the Swaha Divya Ashram of Prasad, Kuva, where he was instrumental in obtaining materials and resources for the construction of the center that houses the Swaha Prasad ECC school, a mandir, and community facilities. Several years ago, Mr. Maharaj migrated with his family to Canada, but they still keep up this involvement and membership of the Swaha Divya Ashram. With a sense of appreciation and gratitude, we today honor this pioneering and outstanding member of Swaha, Mr. Ramjatan Maharaj. I would now like to invite Mrs. Mala Prasad to the stage area to receive the following posthumous award on behalf of the family.
On behalf of the family of Mr. Maharaj in Canada, his wife, Shanti Didi, his daughters, Sherry and Chan, thank you, and Atma Shanti to Mr. Maharaj.
Thank you to Ms. Praveen Rajkumar for taking us through this part of the program, and thank you to Pandit Manideo Prasad and Pandit Professor Prakash Prasad for assisting us in presenting the awardees with their tokens of appreciation. Dance has always been a popular feature of Indian culture, and today we would like to welcome Mrs. Shalini Jutaram to the stage. We are delighted to have her here with us, as she is a past student of the Swaha Hindu College in Sangre Grande and has been dancing for the past 25 years. She has performed on both the local and international stage, where she represented Trinidad and Tobago in the United States, Canada, New Delhi, the island of Guadeloupe, Colombia, and Jamaica. She is a proud senior member of the Prema Shakti Dancers and the founder of the Shalini Jutaram Dance Company. She holds a Bachelor of Arts with honors in Business Management and an MBA in Business Administration, and also holds the title of the 103.1 FM Queen of Hearts 2022. Please put your hands together and welcome Mrs. Shalini Jutaram to the stage.
छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुझसे नैना मिलैगे छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुझसे नैना मिलैगे नैना मिलैगे मोरे नैनों में आएगे नैना मिलैगे मोरे नैनों में आएगे अपने ही रंग रंग दी रे मुझसे नैना मिलैगे सब छीन रे मुझसे नैना मिलैगे
शहनाइयों से गूंज रहा है मेरे घर आंगन में बिहार हल्दी से सोने जैसा हुआ तब भर दी सिंदूरी मेरी मांग रंग ही रंग है चाहो दिस मेरे माया आपकी जड़ों में है भाग
हो छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुझसे नैना मिलैगे छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुझसे नैना मिलैगे नैना मिलैगे नैना नैना मिलैगे मोरे नैनों में आएगे नैना मिलैगे मोरे नैनों में आएगे अपने ही रंग रंग दे रे मुझसे नैना मिलैगे सब छीन रे मुझसे नैना मिलैगे हर रंग में तू हर ढंग में तू हर पल मेरे संग संग में तू हर रंग में तू बाहर भी तू भीतर भी तू रग रग में तू कण कण में तू हर रंग में तू हो तन मन की मोरी सुध बुध है चीनी मोसे तन मन की मोरी सुध बुध है चीनी काहे बलम दीवाना कर दीनी मोहे काहे बलम दीवाना कर दीनी छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुझसे नैना मिलैगे छाप तिलक सब छीन रे मुझसे नैना मिलैगे नैना मिलैगे मुझसे नैना मिलैगे
Thank you once again, Shalini, for that beautiful performance. We are privileged to have with us here today the High Commissioner of India, Dr. Pradeep Singh Rajpurohit. A career diplomat who joined the Indian Foreign Service in 2004, Dr. Pradeep Singh Rajpurohit assumed the charge of High Commissioner of India to the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago on October 6, 2023. Prior to this appointment, Dr. Rajpurohit served as Director General for the Middle East region, West Asia and North Africa in the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, from the period July 2021 to September 2023. His previous appointments include serving as Ambassador of India to the Republic of Iraq from 2017 to 2019 and Deputy Ambassador to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia from 2019 to 2020. He headed the political section at the Indian Embassy in Berlin, Germany. He was the second secretary at the Indian Embassy in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, from 2008 to 2011, and third secretary at the Indian Embassy in Cairo, Egypt, from 2006 to 2008. He also earned a diploma in Arabic language from the American University in Cairo. At the headquarters of the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi, Dr. Raj Purohit served as director in India's multilateral neighborhood, BIMSTEC and SAARC division from 2020 to 2021, and deputy secretary dealing with India's development cooperation projects in developing countries from 2012 to 2014. Dr. Raj Purohit is a medical graduate from Dr. S.N. Medical College in Jodhpur, India, and briefly worked in the health sector before joining the Indian Foreign Service. He is happily married to Manju Raj Purohit and has 2 daughters and 1 son. It now gives me great pleasure to welcome the High Commissioner of India, His Excellency, Dr. Pradeep Singh Raj Purohit, to the stage to bring greetings on this occasion of Indian Arrival Day. Please welcome him with a lusty round of applause.
Namaste, Sitaram. Good evening to all of you. Honorable Madam Kamla Persad-Bissessar ji, Leader of Opposition, Professor Prakash Prasad, Ambassador Manidev Prasad ji, Madam Hemlata ji, and all my colleagues from the High Commission, and all distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I have been part of all these celebrations and events since morning of today, and this is my probably the 7th or the 8th program, and the last week also I was involved in some of these festivities relating to the Indian Arrival Day, and one in Tobago also. I took the liberty of coming little late at our very campus where the Swaha group is organizing this event, and what a lovely gathering here around and excellent logistical arrangement. I'm glad to see Swaha group coming here and having this event. We have been talking about the Indian Arrival Day for some time, and as I was explaining in other events, that back in India, few people know about this, particularly those like us who do not come from that part like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. So I have been explaining to them what is Indian Arrival Day and how significant this has been and how relevant this is in the lives of people here in Trinidad and Tobago. This particular center is one of the largest we have outside India. And it is a symbol of the bilateral collaboration between India and Trinidad and Tobago. And I shared the logo of the Swaha group with some of my family members, and they were really surprised to see Om at the top and the very name of Swaha. So then, inspired by that, we put the Om there at the top of this center after my coming here. So this is an inspiration that we take out of this. Om is for us, it is about the Srishti and all, but this was like Swaha group's inspiration to us. The Swaha group, whatever I know about this, I have been meeting the Professor ji, Ambassador Manidev ji, their contribution in preserving, maintaining the traditions and the values of the Indian culture, the family values and the norms have been commendable. Over the years, as we have been told and we have been seeing their activities, their contribution with the vast network of the education institutions, the temples, the pundits, the TV network is indeed incredible. And this has really worked a lot in the upbringing of the younger generation particularly. And I see that because of all these efforts, that today we have so many of us chanting and happily singing all these songs and bhajans and chautals and chopals and so many things around. So deep, lusty applaud to the Swaha groups, all these efforts around. The occasion of today is the Indian Arrival Day. And when we say Indian Arrival Day, it is the recognition to the efforts, to the sacrifices, to the endurance, spirit, resilience of the forefathers, those courageous men and women took the conscious decision of coming out of their motherland at that time when coming overseas was considered untouchable, kala pani. They took this conscious decision for the better life, the livelihood of their children, their descendants around. And in that spirit that we have the celebration of this, and we are glad that this has been now recognized as an official holiday, and this gives us the space to celebrate those moments around. Whatever the condition had been, the indentured labor or workers or whatever you call, but down the line, 179 years ago, what they did, and then they passed on the values and the norms to the generations. And the same has been imparted over the generations. We are glad today that a large proportion of their values and traditions have been kept intact despite being so far away from India, so far away from the motherland, and despite being such a long time elapsing. We see that the time has come for the descendants of those courageous men and women to engage again back to India. They took 103 days in reaching to Trinidad in that treacherous journey. You today don't need 103 hours. You can easily reach out to India, the 5th largest economy in the world, going to be the 3rd largest economy in the world, a development economic powerhouse, hub of the world-class education, hub of the world-class medical treatment, hub of the all kinds of the IT services, and you name the services and the products around. Ma'am has visited India in 2012, I believe. Ma'am, after 12 years, I can tell you that if you go today, you won't recognize the India. It has changed so much around. It has changed for the good. It has grown so much. It is the high time that our diaspora make most out of it, engage and explore in education, in business, in services, in technology. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is engaging with us for the digital technologies, digital payment, the EID and several other of the things. But I say that the diaspora, the onus is on you, that you don't need those hours and that long period. Reach out to them. This is the time. And a large proportion of the diaspora from other countries have actually benefited out of it. We at the level of High Commission, and I am repeating to some of those, have been engaged in a number of activities, a number of programs around. The Pravasi Bharatiya Divas has been coming up later this year, the early 2025. And a series of things are also being lined up. But the important contribution what we wish to make, and I have mentioned in other forums also, is to provide you the overseas Indian citizenship card, which is the token, which is the gateway through which a number of services and the benefits could be explored. And in that context, it is important that the ancestry be established. Please make effort out of it. Go to the National Archives. Take help of the experts in that. It's not difficult. I have personally seen. This is the way you establish your ancestry. And once that is done, we at the level of High Commission are at your disposal in further processing those applications for the overseas Indian citizenship card. The Government of India has reached out to the diaspora. We wish to do some workshops and we wish to reach out to you in that context. Once that is done, and some people the others would get the motivation to get deeper into this. It's a fascinating effort. You will get to know so many of the ancestors, your extended families, and the villages, as ma'am has done, and some of you have done. But our record says that out of Trinidad's I believe 700,000 Indian diaspora, about 1,000 people have been given these cards, and rest all are just saying that they are coming from India, but that is something we wish to extend, and we wish to have an active participation of all of you in this endeavor. Other than this, we have the International Day of Yoga coming up on 19th of June in the Savannah ground, and on 29th of June in Shagwanas. And a number of scholarships being offered, not just in the academics, but in various art forms, including dance, music, and several others. We have the No India program. Some nominations, this has increased. Several of the government employees can take benefit out of our ITech program, the short-term India's world-class capacity building programs, and a number of business delegations with Trinidad and Tobago's excellent location in between the North and the South Americas. Businessmen are interested in coming here, in investing around. Make most out of it and take help of the High Commission in this effort. We are at your disposal. The High Commission, the Mahatma Gandhi Center, number of activities being organized here. We have been involved in a number of things. Several classes are going on regular basis, and we wish to actually reach outside this premises among the communities. And if there is a demand, there is a requirement, we would be more than happy to extend and go out there. In the promotion of Hindi language, we have been at the forefront. Number of classes have been organized, but I still see that the general working knowledge of Hindi is still far away, and we would be happy to extend more classes out. We plan to do a regional Hindi conference also, and wish to have your active participation in all these activities around. On this occasion of the Indian Arrival Day, let us take that spirit that 179 years back, what your forefathers have carried out, do a reverse of that, engage and explore India, and let us work together to make it even more celebratory, even more eventful around the Indian Arrival Day. I wish all of you on this momentous occasion a very happy Indian Arrival Day and our warm greetings from the High Commission of India. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raj Purohit, for your contribution to our program this evening and your presence here today. Before you leave the stage, we'd present you with this token of our appreciation on behalf of the members of Swaha, presented by Mrs. Sandy Ragbir. Thank you so much once again for taking the time to be with us today. As we near the end of our program, the time has come to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those who have made it possible. I wish to call upon Pandit Tarun Maharaj, the Vice President of Swaha, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Sitaram, in planning an event of this magnitude, there are a number of individuals who would have contributed towards its success. I first of all would like to thank the Minister of Culture, Tourism and Arts, Mr. Randall Mitchell, for his overwhelming support. To the Honorable Opposition Leader, Ms. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, we are quite grateful to have you in our attendance. To the Indian High Commissioner, His Excellency Dr. Pradeep Raj Purohit, we are quite happy to hear from you and to have you in our presence this evening. To the Director of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Cultural Cooperation, Dr. Ramya Ajay, we are quite happy for you giving us the use of this auditorium and facilities. To the Chairman of the Dharam Mandal of Swaha, Pandit Professor Prakash Prasad, we are grateful for your contribution. To all our revered pundits who would have blessed us with their presence this evening, we are quite happy to have you. To Sewa Titi, Mr. Revanti Luxing, Dr. Vishy Bihari, and his wife, we are quite happy for you being here with us. To the Raj Yoga Society, Sister Hamlata, who is here with us, we are grateful for your presence. To our performers who would have entertained us throughout this program, and I'll name them Ms. Kamla Dayani, Ms. Reshma Rajiv, Ms. Shalini Jutaram, Mr. Suresh, and later you will hear from Mr. Charanjit Ramsuchit and his wonderful group. To our honorees, Ms. Kamawati Ramsubik, Ms. Rupati Singh, the late Mr. Ramjatan Maharaj, Sewa Titi, friends of awardees, we are grateful for your presence. Our lovely decoration was done by Mr. Nival Raghu, and we want to thank you for your assistance. In a short while from now, you'll be treated with some delicious meals that was lovingly prepared by our caterers, Suresh and Cindy Balkaran. You would have given tea and coffee at the beginning from Maharaja's Cafe, and tea plates by Angela Ramcharita. We want to say thank you very much. To our lovely ushers, Nalini Lokai Singh, Tara Lokai Singh, and Savita Manohar from Gyan Deepa Kirtan Mandali, we'd like to thank you all. To Ms. Alisa Mohammed for her photography, we want to thank you, along with Ria Budu of Dwellings, for the tokens that was given. To our PA assistant, Mr. Vijay Shankar, we want to thank you. Our MCs, who would have done an excellent job throughout this program. I refer to Mr. Ronald Chakari and Sarvani Prasad. We want to thank you all for your assistance. To our president, Pandit Ishwar Madhu Maharaj, Ms. Ambika Madhu Maharaj, the Dharampatni of Pandit Ishwar. To the Swaha National Executive and the members of the Swaha's Secretariat, we want to thank all of you for coordinating such a wonderful program. To all of you in attendance, all these efforts made would not have been fruitful as it was if it was not for your presence here. We do thank all of you for your support rendered, and we look forward for your continued support. Happy East Indian arrival to all of you. Thank you. Sit down.
And thank you, Pandit Tarun, for very efficiently delivering that vote of thanks. As another Indian Arrival Day award ceremony draws to a close, on behalf of my esteemed co-host, Ronald, and myself, I would like to say that it was indeed our privilege to take you through this evening's proceedings. Thank you for your kind cooperation in helping us make this program the resounding success that it has been.